All right, everybody. Thank you for joining today over here at InsideHalos. We have two special guests today, one being Jared Timms of TalkinHalos, about 6 years now covering the Angels affiliates. We also have Taylor Blake Ward, the managing editor for the Sporting Tribune, as well as the Angels correspondent for Baseball America. In addition to that, he does also have his book out there, In Search of Millionaires. Great read, available. I believe I got that one on Amazon. Definitely one you want to check out. And then if either of you guys want to say where your socials are at, where people can find you, and then we'll get into some of the questions we had.
I'm gonna say I'll let the older guy take it.
Jared's OnlyFans is available. At Taylor Blake Ward, wherever, whenever.
And then Jared_Timms. You can find me everywhere.
Perfect. Absolutely. So the first kind of question that had come in today was going over the current roster as it stands right now after a disappointing year, but going into 2026, what prospects could be added to the young core, as well as which ones might be able to get moved in, maybe on the fringes of the roster, on the borderline of, could they help or not, could get moved out to add to the major league team. If we could start with Taylor on that one, and then Jared, over to you if you have anything to bring into there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, I think the guys that are with the club, the Denzer Guzmans, I guess Denzer's the only one I can think of right now. Matt Lugo, Caden Dana are going to be the ones that are going to be looking to potentially try to impact the team next year. You're going to have to add a few guys to the 40-man roster this winter. I think Joel Hurtado and Walbert Urena are probably the two big ones that are left un-40-manned at the moment, and maybe I'm missing someone off the top of my head. But I don't know. Moving pieces, I don't think changes the farm system a whole lot. I think that unless you're moving like a Christian Moore, or I know that Christian's no longer a prospect. I know Caden, maybe if you're moving like a Ryan Johnson or a Caden Dana or a Christian Moore, it's a little different. But I think if you move anyone else, I don't think it moves the needle on the farm system. So I actually think it'd be beneficial to start utilizing the farm system a little bit. Nelson Rada is a guy that's going to come up a lot. Doesn't have to be protected on the 40-man this winter. So I think he's a guy that you kind of hold off on. And I think he's a guy that you try to – there's going to be a right package to deal him. I just don't know what teams are going to value him as a everyday table setter and what teams are going to value him as a fifth outfielder, because his variance is very large despite the fact that he is what he is as a prospect.
Yeah. Yep. I was going to say, to add on to the 40-man conversation, you have two relievers in there, Jared Southern and Sam Minatera Jr., who the Angels could go and select. And I mean, if history repeats itself, they added Jack Dashwood last year. There's Sam Minatera that's a lefty. So that wouldn't surprise me by any means if they added Sam Minatera to the 40-man here in a couple weeks. On the prospect side of stuff, I'm interested to see how four of the five of my top five prospects work their way out. And that's Tyler Bremner, because the Angels tend to push their guys really quickly. What's he going to look like this spring? Caden Dana, another one. Taylor already mentioned him. Ryan Johnson and George Clausen too. How George Clausen's going to affect the team moving forward. Is he going to bid for a starting job at a spring? Can he be in the bullpen? Again, if history repeats itself and the Angels continue to develop, it wouldn't surprise me if both Bremner and George Clausen had a chance at making the bullpen out of spring training this upcoming year. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting pieces. I don't know how much impact there is with a lot of these guys. We're talking like possible bullpen guys, maybe starting pitching wise. And Taylor does bring up an interesting point when it comes to the 40-man. We've seen the Angels, and I want to say just recently, I can't think off the top of my head, but we've seen the Angels take on guys that are about to be on there. The Luis Garcia trade, where you picked up Nico Cavadas and such like that. I wonder if a team picks up Wilbert Urania or a Joel Hurtado because the Angels don't have enough room and they think they're going to get snatched up in the Rule 5 draft. So it'll be an interesting offseason going into spring for a lot of these pitchers.
Perfect. And then circling back to actually someone you both brought up, Ryan Johnson. He was obviously rushed very quickly, no minor league time, up to the major league roster. Had his moments where he looked good, but also his ones where he's a little shaky, needed to get sent back down to Single A. He obviously had a great run this year down there in Single A. Is he someone that maybe they try to push back quickly, or are they going to, in your guys' minds, do you think they give them a little bit more time to develop properly as a starter, or is he someone who could be back up on the major league team coming out of spring next year, in your opinion?
I'll let the child start this time.
I appreciate it. I, if the Angels were any other team, I'd say, hey, he's got one more day of prospect status, I think is what it is, if I'm not mistaken, right, Taylor? I think he's right at 45 days. So if it was any other team, I'd say that matters. With the Angels, for some reason, it seems to not matter. I know there's a very slim chance that Ryan Johnson wins Rookie of the Year or anything like that, and the Angels get any type of compensation for him. But he is one of the top. He is somebody that was in a couple of top 100 lists and could definitely be somebody who might have a chance to win Rookie of the Year when he does do that. So I'm going to say that no, he doesn't make the team out of spring training, or he might not be up at all next year just because of the fact. But again, it's something that the Angels don't seem to care about all that much is prospect eligibility. So it wouldn't surprise me if he made the team out of spring.
Um, I, I don't know at this point with his 45-day count if it matters as much. I think it's, his next major league stint is going to remove him from rookie eligibility. So yes, I mean, like, he is rookie eligible next year. I think that's important. As Jared mentioned, he is, a top 100 prospect for one outlet. From what I understand, it has to be top 100 for two of the three. But with Ryan, I mean, I think it all depends on what this front office is going to be come March, because there's going to be some job saving decisions next year. If Perry is the general manager through the winter, which I think is to be expected at this point, I think he's going to have to make some job saving decisions come next year and have to prove that not only is the young core progressing, but also this is a team that's going to be capable of winning. So it's more or less, if Ryan Johnson is more valuable to you in 2026 as a reliever, or if he's more valuable to you as a starter moving forward in development. Personally, I never believed that Ryan could be a starter. He's done very well, obviously, in the minors as a starter. But I think most people view him as a high leverage reliever. If it was me, I'd keep him starting, but I think there's going to be some decisions that are made that I don't agree with. And I think one of those is going to be that you're going to see Ryan Johnson up in a relief role next year, when I'd prefer to see him develop a little bit more.
Okay. And then keeping it on the prospects, also plugging back to that Baseball America, Rowdy Rodriguez, minor league player of the year this year for the Halos. What are your guys' thoughts on him coming out of high school? I believe he was 19, almost 20, or may have actually just made that 20 marks. A little bit on the older side, probably affected his status in the draft a bit. But what do you guys see there? Possible fourth outfielder, maybe a little bit more moving forward?
Yeah, I got to see Rowdy a lot this year. Obviously, made the decision to name him Baseball America's minor league player of the year. Jared, I've got to jump off screen for a second. You want to take this one for 2 seconds?
Yep. Yeah, I got it. I think I'll probably answer this pretty similar to how Taylor is going to answer it, and I don't exactly know what he is yet. There's a lot to like. Like, the more you watch him, you like the swing. There's a little bit of power. There's more power than Nelson Rada in there, so there's going to be a little bit of power. I don't know if it's 25 home run power, which I don't believe that. I think it's going to be closer to 10, maybe 15 home run power. He's going to be pretty quick. I don't think he's going to stick in center field. He played a lot of center field for Inland this year. I think he's going to be more of a corner outfielder. Decent arm. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him next year. If they send him to Tri-City, where prospects go to die, we're not going to hear about him until he goes to Rocket City. And everybody's going to kind of fall off the table, just like a lot of players have when they go to Tri-City. So at the moment, I'm going to say I don't know, and we probably won't know because I bet they send him to Tri-City. We probably won't know until they send him to Rocket City.
Yeah, I think Jared mentioned a few things. It is that he has a lot of tools. No doubt he has a lot of tools. His raw power is above average. He's kind of shows the ability to get into it. Big thing for him this year was his ability to optimize his launch angle a little bit. I know it's a touchy subject on that stuff, but his, 10 to 30% launch angle range improved dramatically, especially above 95 plus exit velocities, which was big for him. I think realistically, this is a guy that still has to perform. He has exciting tools. I just don't know if he's got enough carrying tool because he's not a center fielder. He can pinch in center field, but he's going to be a left-right fielder. He's got some power. He's got some speed. He's a smart base runner. He's a plus runner. I just don't know if the hit tool and the approach is going to be able to carry him to the degree that you'd like to see for a big leaguer. He will be a fringy 30-man guy for me, but at the same time, I think with the performance, he definitely raised his stock, no doubt. And yeah, fourth outfield is probably what I would say when it comes to Rowdy. But at the same time, sometimes these guys keep performing. We said the same thing about Jared Walsh. And I know it's a different, a college player, a high school player, etc. But we said the same thing about Jared Walsh. It's like Jared might be a platoon, maybe something, and sure enough, he turns into an all-star. So I'm not going to sit there and put that on Rowdy, but I think fourth outfield kind of guy is going to be what you're looking at when it comes to Rowdy Rodriguez.
Perfect. And then I know for me, one of my guys in the minor leagues, that I'm going to say is someone that I think has been able to perform well, and I'd like to see keep doing that. What is Yoel Hurtado? For you guys, who are some other names similar to Rowdy that next year could be breakout candidates similar to that maybe whether it's because they're in Tri-City or they're a little bit older coming out of the draft, has kind of slipped under the view of us as fans who might not be as in tune with the farm system.
I'm pretty obsessed with this prep arm group. I'm not gonna lie, I really like a lot of these prep arms. So I don't know if I could call it a breakout because it's going to be their debut year. I mean, can I cheat and say someone that kind of broke out this year and I think is going to keep breaking out is Dylan Jordan. I think Dylan Jordan is definitely a guy that has the capability to not only break out but maybe become a very impactful starting pitcher down the road. I think his seeker slider combination is going to create a lot of ground ball opportunities. I think he's years away, and I think he's probably going to repeat in the Empire next year. But I think he's a very, very exciting arm that I'm monitoring. Also, just these high school kids. I know that CJ Gray might not be able to throw a strike at the moment, but he's got some fun stuff. I'm a big fan of CJ Gray.
I'm gonna steal Taylor's guy here, and say Peyton Olenek. He didn't really have I know. Did you miss it? I was waiting for it because
I did miss it.
I was gonna let you go first on that. I was gonna let you go first on that. Yeah. I tipped the cap to Taylor on this because he made me go watch him again. But yeah, Peyton Olenek had a really good year when you go and watch him. From a statistical standpoint, I don't think it's not jumping off the table, jumping off the charts. I don't think his ERA was very good. He didn't strike out a crazy amount of players. He didn't, his command wasn't great, but you go and watch him and it's like, oh, okay, like I understand why, some of these guys are talking about Peyton Olenek. He's 6'11", the fastball, you can imagine where the ball is coming from somebody that's, 6'11". It's a sweepy slider that's really good and a changeup that's, fringe at best. And I'm really, really obsessed with him. I'll continue to put Chris Clark's name out there as well, who's in Tri-City, as well as Inland Empire. I think that he's a reliever, but I think that he's pretty similar to Dylan Jordan in a sense, just a little bit better with the fastball, sweepy slider. I think the changeup is again pretty good. You can kind of tell what I like. I like the fastball that runs. I like the sweepy slider, and I like the changeup. It's the Logan Webb profile in a sense. Those are my types of guys. I love Dylan Jordan as well. And then I mean, Tri-City, Anthony Skoll looked pretty good out there. Again, Rio Foster went under the radar and had probably the best like 2 months out of all minor league baseball for a while there. And yeah, it's just there's a lot of interesting players. It's just if they're going to take the next step up or not.
Absolutely. And then kind of transitioning from the prospects back to the major league roster here, I know probably none of us have a real idea of what's going on in the courtroom, but is there any thoughts on your guys' end where that could affect how much capital they're willing to spend or what they're willing to do this offseason. I mean, we've seen some of those numbers come out of what potentially could be in damages. I know that can't really be affecting the club, hopefully, but do you guys see any world where that does affect what Artie is willing to put into the major league club this offseason? It already was, I think, about 25, 30 million at most to get back to where they spent this year. But just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. That was a big question we had coming in.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jared.
I was gonna say, I'll take this. Yeah, from a fan perspective, I get it. You know, Artie said last year that they didn't have any money to spend. They lost $50 million. And then all of a sudden the spending stopped. And now all of a sudden we're having this kind of same argument in a sense where this whole court trial is happening and it's going to be disgusting. It's not going to be very good at all. There's going to be a lot of names that are thrown around that a lot of people know, and it's going to be it's ugly at the end of the day. So I would be slightly worried as a fan for sure, especially with that type of number being thrown around by the Skaggs family, and especially with what Artie Moreno had to say in this offseason for sure. I don't know if they're going to correlate at all, but you know, if you put A and B together and all of a sudden the Angels aren't spending a whole lot this offseason, it would make sense. It would definitely make sense. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's gonna be ugly. I don't think this is going away anytime soon. And it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, if I'm the Angels, I'm trying my best to tell the guys to not pay attention to this because it is going to be ugly, and there's going to be a lot of we were talking about on our podcast is that there's going to be names that are brought into the courtroom or mentioned in the courtroom that have nothing to do with the trial itself, but their names are going to be brought in, or maybe it's bringing testimony, positive or negative, for the Angels, against the Angels, whatever it is. It's just going to be there's a lot of people that are going to be brought into this that are maybe still correlated with the Angels, maybe not. But some in the past, some recent, some that it might still be with the Angels, and that's just going to be. You try and limit the distractions when it comes to the team aspect of this. Is you'd say, you know, hey, one of our guys is going to court today. You don't want to have your entire roster looking at and trying to see what happened in court. I think the other deal you were mentioning the financial factor of this. I think it's a load of crap. I mean, I like the court case itself is going to cost significant money. But between the investment group and the ownership group, they got a ton of money. I just don't think they're going to spend this winter, regardless of court case, not court case, whatever it is. And you know, general thought for this, you know, I think a lot of people are going to come off as villains in this whole process. You know, I just want to see justice for Carly and Debbie Skaggs. Just, you know, two very good people that were put under hellish circumstances, unfair circumstances in life, and I just want to see some justice for them and see everything done right for them, no matter what the financial aspects, anything on top of that.
Yeah. And like you said, they probably weren't going into this offseason spending a whole lot, kind of transitioning away as a little bit from that court case. But they've not really tended to be under Artie creative with making trades for primarily as their way of acquiring players on the major league roster. Let's say, you know, moving a Taylor Ward in the deal, Joe Adell at times. You know, there's many people on the roster who have been talked about being moved, and kind of typically it's looked like we hold on to them till the last year, maybe move off a few relievers. With not spending as much, is this the offseason where Artie Moreno might finally greenlight some trades of a Taylor Ward, or, you know, for a bigger move, like you mentioned, a Christian Moore, Jose Soriano, getting creative to add to their roster? I mean, at times, Jared Timms, I know, has been big on saying 2026 is a year where you can really take that step forward. Second half this year kind of, I think, has dampened a lot of people's possible thoughts on that. And not that the younger group might still get better, but is there a way that you could see them getting creative in trades this year to add to their roster, or are we looking probably 27, 28 after a potential lockout for really any substantial moves to the roster?
I'm going to jump in. Jared and I have talked about 2026 for a while now. Is that is your window of opportunity to compete? So I think the only thing is going to be if they're making moves this offseason, you're going to tell. It's going to be very obvious whether or not they feel the way that it's going to be 2026 or not. is if they are investing in their big league roster by utilizing their farm system, I think that that's going to prove that they believe that this is the start of their window. If they do trade someone like Taylor Ward or Joe Adell, I think that's a little bit of a white flag, and I think people are losing their jobs. I genuinely believe that because, like you said, 2026. So you have to improve the big league. All the buildup for the last 6 years, as much as you would have loved to have seen something better, a better product of the last 11 years at this point, the last 6 years or 5 years have been building up to the 6 year. Neto, Seanwell, Silseth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Keep going down the list. So what you do over this winter is, I think it's another job saver. Is if you are moving big league assets to not attain big league assets and improve your big league roster, you're making mistakes. I think this is your window, and 2026 is the year to really accumulate what you have for the big league season. And like I said, I think you can almost surrender. You can almost surrender the farm system if you believe this is the start of your window.
Yeah, I look at that at kind of a different way in a sense and say, do we see Perry kind of starting to panic a little bit? And get rid of some of those farm system pieces for, pieces that may help this upcoming season and beyond. So I think I'd like to see the Angels be smart with it. And the same thing goes with the draft this year and the draft last year too. I think a lot of people wanted to see the Angels go high school pick because that was probably the highest best available guy. Because a lot of people thought that Perry was probably going to be out this offseason, if not probably next offseason, and you have a chance to maybe get a new GM in. This offseason wise, I think that yeah, we're gonna start seeing some trades. I don't think it'll be the Taylor Wards, the Joe Adells. I think that they have um, those players set in stone for a reason to work with the young core group of guys that we see, the infielders, the Shonwell, the Christian Moore, the Zach Neto. So yeah, I think that we do start seeing them move some pieces, maybe to get a pitcher, or something along the lines of that. It'll be an interesting offseason. It really will, because I don't think they're going to spend all that much. I think they're going to make trades. I do.
Absolutely. And then just a few more questions here. Thank you guys again for taking some time. Center field was a question we got a lot. Trent Grisham got brought up coming off a big power year, but my thought on it was defensive-minded center fielder primarily. I mean, he had a big power year. You kind of have obviously a great defender right now in Teodosio. You have Rada behind him, who in his own right is a solid defender out in center field. Obviously, the lack of exact power to match a Grisham. But are one of those two guys in your mind seen as the opening day center fielder right now, or is there someone on the free agent market or trade market you think they could look to acquire? I know Lane Thomas, per se, had a down year in Cleveland. Maybe they try to take a flyer on something like that. But what were you guys' thoughts on center field going into 2026, as Adell clearly wasn't really, in my opinion, maybe not yours, ready for center field and is more fit for right?
Yeah, I think that if you can get another big bat to, in a sense, replace Bryce Teodosio, but also let him play center field, I think that's okay. Like if Bryce Theodosio is your 8 or 9 hole hitter, but you've made a couple improvements ahead of him, then that's perfectly fine because Bryce Theodosio is probably the best defensive center fielder in baseball. And I don't even know if that's really close. I'd love to see him play 162 games and see what his stats would be in center field, even if he was batting 200. But then you also have to look at that and say, is it worth it? To have that in center field, but also have the bat in the 9 hole where, maybe he's getting a hit, 15 times out of 100. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in center field. I don't know if Nelson Rada is the answer either, in center field, but I mean, Taylor and I talk about this a lot, and I don't know at the moment. It'll be interesting to see like if they can get a Jorge Slayer type bat that can fill that hole in at third base or something like that. I really don't know. I like Bryce though. Bryce is playing phenomenal defense out there. I just wish the bat was a little bit better.
Yeah, I think if you go into the year with Bryce as your starting center fielder, you have not improved this roster. I think that Bryce definitely brings value. I would probably carry him as a fourth outfielder, but I think you have an opportunity to potentially platoon Nelson and Bryce to a degree. I don't think it matters because I don't think Bryce is hitting lefties or righties particularly well, but obviously he has value. So I think he's an easy filler for fourth outfielder. You're not worried about what the bat does. He's got speed. He can play defense. That's exactly what you want from a fourth outfielder, unless you can continually improve. I think you have to improve the offensive profile as well there, though. I don't think you can just carry him. Like, I'm with Jared. Bryce, love to see what he's doing. Glad he's in the big leagues. I'm not going to say he's the best defensive center fielder in baseball, but he's top two. I'll give you that. So, no, I think you have to improve the overall value of center field. You've got to bring in a bat that can also defend. I know this is going to be costly. I'm a big believer in bringing in a particular guy under those circumstances that I could mention off the bat, but I think that I think you have to improve there. And like I said, Nelson Rada has a chance to be a table setter. You know, and there's no doubt that he has the table setting tools. But you've got to continue to let him get bigger physically while still maintaining his athleticism. And I think you have to find out exactly what you have with him. And you still have a year's worth of time to do that before you have to worry about 40-man before putting him on the 40-man. So I think you just need some you need to improve this winter in center field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The center field offense has been pretty poor over the course of the year, and if not, the defense was. So, someone Jared just brought up, though, Jorge Soler brought in to be a big bat this year. Obviously, it seems like Trout is DH only at this point. For the most part going forward. If it keeps him on the field, at least at the plate, even with his bit of a decline at the plate, worth it to keep him out there every day. Soler, is he a guy that I know you eat enough money, anyone can be moved, but is he someone who you have to move this off season, or someone that the Angels might have to just keep on the bench if they're not willing to eat enough money?
I think you keep him rostered until he proves he's not worth rostering. I don't think he's someone that someone's going to pay for at this point. I don't know if you're going to ask about Anthony Rendon, but I think you're going to have a very expensive bench or an expensive injured list. Jorge Soler, I think the power alone himself and the offensive potential is worth keeping him around. But I think that's a contract that if it's just not working out, it's a buyout. It's an easy buyout. You're gonna have to swallow the pill on some money next year, regardless. You've got $38 million with Anthony Rendon, and have no idea if he's ever going to see a baseball field again. I think the Angels are going to make the attempt to see what they can get value wise out of their, almost $40 million third baseman that's not there. But I don't think they view Jorge Soler in the same light. I think they're going to try and get what value they can out of him. And at some point, if there just isn't any more value, you buy it out and let someone else take it.
Yeah, I'll go a little different route. I think you have to try to trade him. I just don't think that anybody's going to take that contract on by any means. And Taylor said it perfectly. The Angels are going to have a very expensive bench IL for sure this upcoming season. Whatever is going on with Anthony Rendon, if he decides to show up in spring, somewhat healthy, you still hold out a little bit of hope because of what he used to be. I mean, Anthony Rendon was one of the best players in baseball for about 5-6 years there with the Nationals. So, not saying that he will ever regain that or even touch a baseball field again, but it would be really cool. It would be nice to see that. I know fans don't like him. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with that, but just to see it happen would be very nice, especially for the Angels itself. Jorge Soler, I don't know. I think you have to try to trade him. I just don't think that anybody's going to take on a contract like that.
Yeah, no, probably not. I've been trying to pitch the idea to be on the Halo and a few other of the guys that I talked to of back to Atlanta. He's had the success there. Ozuna maybe on his way out, but we'll see what happens there. Second to last question here. Was Trout, can he fix his swing going into next season, as well as Adele? Can he get into more contact? I think that's a big issue. Look around the roster: Trout, Adele, at times, maybe a Neto, Shanuel, not so much, more probably as well. Hoppy, the strikeouts. Is that something the Angels are going to have? I mean, it's a philosophy thing. They're hitting a lot of home runs, but comes with the strikeouts. Is there any way that they can kind of, bring it back a little bit to a more acceptable level, or is that just kind of the players that are on the roster at this point?
I think Joe might be what he is, and if he's a 40 home run guy that strikes out 150 times a year, I think you take it. I think the production is there, and I think Joe has had Joe is continuing to grow, so there's no doubt is room for improvement still. But I think this is probably, I think if this is the outcome you get of what Joe Adell is he's hitting about 250, 150 something strikeouts, or running I know we'll play percentages instead. If he's running a 25 to 30 strikeout percentage, but still hitting 30 plus home runs, I think you take that every day. I think you're very, very satisfied with that. With Trout, I think there's quite a few things to it. This guy hasn't played baseball in a couple of years. He's only played a full season since what, 2022 or 21, whatever year it was. That I think getting his timing back has always been. Mike has always gone through rhythms of timing. When his timing is off, he's rough and he can't hit the fastball up. Obviously, that's been well known for a while. Is that fastball up has always been a struggle, even when he's young. So, he has to make adjustments. I think if anyone can make adjustments, is Mike. But you see it all there. The swing is synced up. It's not grooved. He can make in-swing adjustments. The bat speed is still there. I don't see any reason Mike. I'm not going to sit here and say that Mike Trout's going to hit 330 next year with 50 home runs and whatever. He's not going to be a 200 weighted runs created plus guy. But I think Mike is Mike. This is a guy that has shown time and time again he can adjust. He will adjust, and I think timing is the biggest thing when it comes to Trout. And being on the field is going to be very important.
Yeah, you need Trout on the field, 150 games next year. Even if it's not on the field playing defense, I think that you got to have him in the lineup for 150 games next year, for sure. It felt like, and Taylor just mentioned this, but when Trout is close to being Trout-like, he's fouling off a lot of balls. Like you can just kind of tell it's like he's there, but he's not. Like it's fouling balls off to the side, that type of stuff. And it felt like that's kind of been him all year, is just kind of fouling stuff off, not really being able to barrel up a ball. The fastball thing has always been there. Taylor already mentioned it. He's never been able to hit a fastball up. So people that all of a sudden think that this is a new thing, it's not. Like the bat speed's still there. He's always made adjustments, this, that, and another. So yeah, he just needs to be on the field and play baseball. He needs to get it back. Joe Adell, I think that you can have a Joe Adell or two on your team. I just don't know if you can have a team full of Joe Adells and win like they are and about to be close to breaking the all-time record for strikeouts. You can't have that. That philosophy has to change. I mean, I don't even think it's a philosophy like, oh, we're just going to hit home runs. I don't care if you're striking out. Like, I don't think any sane person's like, yeah, let's just go hit home runs. Like, I don't think that's the philosophy. I just think that that's kind of what's been instilled is that, and so yeah, you can't have a team full of Joe Adells that only hit 40 home runs and strike out 160 times or whatever.
I don't think you remember the 2017-18 Tampa Bay Rays, man.
Is that all they did?
True outcome. It was like their true outcome was over like 55%. It was rough.
And I don't believe in that. That's my thing. Like,
I'm not a big true outcome.
You got to find a happy middle. You got to find a happy median when it comes to the analytics.
Jacob could probably bring it up, but I can't remember what year it was. But one of the years the Tampa Bay Rays had like a 57 true outcome percentage. It was nuts.
This is a tangent that I could go on forever because I'm not a true believer in analytics. I think that you need to play baseball at the same time as well. So I don't even want to dive into that argument, but yeah, I mean, striking out this amount of times is definitely not a recipe for success by any means. I'm trying to stall here a little bit because I see Jacob typing and trying to find stats for us. But yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at. I think you 100% have to find a happy median between guys that get on base for your big power hitters, and if those big power hitters strike out a little bit more, then so be it. Like, I mean, I'd like to see Joe Adell have more guys on base. I'd like to see Taylor Ward have more guys on base. I'd like to see Mike Trout have more guys on base. Zach Neto have more guys on base to score more runs for this pitching staff. And that's just a completely different argument that I had there. Jacob, did you find it?
Yeah, so it looks like at the time, yeah, they were about 53%. and no one at that point had been above 40, but that year as the league as a whole had gotten up all the way to about 35.5%. So I was quite a bit more. Obviously,
I
Rays
think
had
I
different
think it was the
coaching.
2019 roster here because they had I think it was this 19 roster where everyone had double-digit home runs, but they all had 100 plus strikeouts, and they also all had like 50 plus walks. So
Then last question for you guys. Moving back, I know Taylor, you've kind of said that you believe Perry will be back, not for a health scare. Washington probably not even a question if he was going to be coming back next year, especially with if Perry's back. Do you guys feel Angels kind of just head back one more year to run it back with both Perry and Ron, Perry and maybe a Torrey Hunter? I know people have thrown out there, or an Albert Pujols. I know we had some fans bring up Benji Gill. I don't think that's a flashy enough name, in my opinion, for Artie to move away from Ron Washington, someone with a name like that. Even if Benji might be one of the more qualified, in my opinion. But what are your guys' thoughts on general manager going into 2026?
I think you mentioned it is who's the name that Artie wants. I think manager is as much as we want to believe that Perry is making some of the decisions because he is making some. I don't think manager is one of those. I'm not going to sit here and say that Perry didn't want Ron Washington or doesn't want Torrey Hunter or anything like that. But if you see Albert Pujols or Torrey Hunter as the manager of the Angels next year, I would imagine that's maybe not a Perry Manassian decision. Tim Salmon was a name in the last managerial search, which credit to Tim. A lot of the players and a lot of the front office staff came back and said, "Hey, he was a very interesting coach. It was a very interesting conversation talking to him during spring training about his coaching platform and style." But whatever decisions are made, I am a firm believer at this point that Artie Moreno is going to be the one that's pulling those decisions. It is up to Perry Manassian at this point to build depth for next year, so that when this time, the September rolls around, you're not having to go and play certain guys that are minor league free agents kind of stuff from low A or high A. I think it's it doesn't matter if it's Perry or another general manager either. I would imagine it's Perry this winter, and I hope it's Perry this winter going through. But it doesn't matter who the general manager is. It doesn't matter who the manager is. Those strings are pulled above their pay grade.
Yeah, I feel like I've been talking about this all day already.
Sorry,
No, you're okay. You're okay. No, it's funny because it's going to be a conversation that we have for weeks to come through the playoffs until the Angels make another decision or whether they stick with Ron. I wholeheartedly agree with what Taylor has to say. I will say this though, if it is Ron or if it is Ray Montgomery, I think that is going to be more on the Perry side of things. Being able to, finish it out in a sense, seeing what they can do in 2026. I think that if it is a flashy name, I think that is the step above. I think that's Artie. I think that's those guys that are making that decision. I don't know how much a manager has to do with the Angels winning or not. At the end of the day, I think there are other things going on that help them win. But it would be nice to, you know, if the Angels did start winning and that manager would be praised again. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But one dark horse for me, and this is just a personal preference. I love Mark DeRosa. I think Mark DeRosa should get a job, get a shot at coaching, managing at the major league level. I don't know if he'll ever leave MLB Network, but the Angels do tend to take guys from MLB Network and put them on their staff. So that might be something there for sure. Or Victor Rojas. Victor Rojas is coaching college ball right now. We never know.
I've got a dream scenario, and I don't know if you guys are gonna dig this or not. I've got two scenarios: is the Tigers completely collapse and AJ Hinch gets fired and he's available, because I think I'm huge. AJ Hinch is the best manager in baseball. I know that the Tigers are doing what they're doing, but I think AJ Hinch is great. And screw it, run it back, bring back Soch. I'm all for it, 100%. I'd love to see Soch back.
And I know my personal favorite. I don't think he actually becomes available. Skip Shoemaker. I don't think he leaves. I think he's going to hold that spot next to Bochy until Bochy ends up retiring eventually. Him and Kim both had pretty good success down there in Miami together. I know she was a candidate for the Angels back in one of their last general manager searches, but the two of them would be a dream scenario if the Angels do move on, in my opinion. For me personally, to add in there with Soch or AJ Hinch and DeRosa, but no, I do appreciate you guys both coming in here. I think that we hit all the questions that the fans had sent in. Unless you guys have anything to add, you want to just toss out one more time where everyone can find you, and we'll let you guys get out of here.
You're more important than me, Taylor. Go ahead.
He's such a jackass. You guys can find me on at Baseball America, Sporting Tribune. You guys can find me on socials at Taylor Blake Ward.
Hey, at least I didn't say age before beauty, buddy.
I win in both departments.
All right.
You ugly man.
All right. You can follow myself on X, Jared_Tims, Instagram, Jared_Tims. I do like 2 articles a year. TalkinHalos.com. It is prospect related. So, and that'll be coming out here very shortly.
Perfect. Be on the lookout for all of that. Thank you both again for taking the time, and you guys have a great rest of your day.
Super.
Thank you.